Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, each and every day, businesses, large and small, affect the lives and rights of children everywhere. This year, we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Children's Rights and Business Principles. These principles ask a simple yet fundamental question. How can we ensure that the direct and indirect impact of business on children is positive? Developed by UNICEF, the United Nations Global Compact, and Save the Children, and in consultation with children, businesses, governments, and civil society, the Children's Rights and Business Principles are the first comprehensive set of tools to guide companies to fully respect and support children's rights. This requires both preventing harm and actively safeguarding children's interests. Over the past decade, these principles and the actions they have inspired have stood as an affirmation that the global business community can make an important difference in children's lives. But many challenges still remain. After 2 decades of global progress, child labor has stalled for the first time in 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic is likely to have pushed millions of children into the workforce. Digital technologies require us to explore every option to reduce the risk of harm that children and young people face online, while maximizing their opportunities to learn, be creative, and fully take part. These and other contemporary issues must propel us to make bolder strides to ensure that children's rights are respected by everyone, everywhere. Children are counting on it. Our future depends on it. Business, governments, and civil society all have a unique role to play. Collective action is the only answer. With less than 8 years till 2030, we need all hands on deck to ensure that children can fulfill their potential and exercise their rights. The urgency to act is echoed in the demands children and young people are making in various fora around the world. We must listen to them. I call on everyone to use this momentum as an opportunity to redouble and reinvigorate our efforts to build a world in which the rights of every child are respected. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We've had an action-packed day so far, and we're now ready to keep the momentum going. I'm Elizabeth Wabuge from UNICEF, and it's my pleasure to moderate this Leaders Summit session on business action to advance children's rights. The context of this conversation could not be more important. 10 years ago, the Children's Rights and Business Principles were developed by UNICEF, Save the Children, and UN Global Compact through consultations involving children, businesses, and decision makers. They were the first tool to clearly articulate how the corporate responsibility to respect children's rights can be implemented in the workplace, the marketplace, the community, and the environment. They were championed by businesses, governments, multi-stakeholder initiatives, civil society organizations, and children themselves. Today, children's rights are being challenged by multiple interconnected crises. We're currently seeing the existing vulnerabilities of children further compounded by the effects of COVID-19, conflict, and the rise in inequalities. Effectively addressing these challenges requires an active response from business, governments, and all of society. Over the course of the hour, we will review progress and gaps, raise awareness, and inspire business leaders to accelerate action to promote business respect for children's rights globally and locally for a better future for children everywhere. We're gathered here virtually, and we're honored to have the opportunity to be hearing from children and young people today. And of course, in true UN Global Compact fashion, we are also here from representatives from governments, business, the UN, civil society from across the globe to mark this important year. To set the scene, it is my pleasure to welcome the Executive Director of UNICEF, Catherine Russell, followed by the Chair of the Committee on the Rights of the Child, Mikiko Otani.
It's my pleasure to join you in celebrating 10 years of the Children's Rights and Business Principles. A decade ago, stakeholders from every sector came together to develop a landmark set of 10 principles designed to guide businesses of all sizes in all places in support of children's rights. Since then, the CRBPs have been translated and adapted into many languages and contexts, inspiring action from boardrooms to factory floors, creating change for children, parents, families, and communities. Today, there is much greater recognition of the critical role business has to play in supporting children's rights and the clear connection between children's rights, sustainable growth, and a fairer world. More companies are taking steps to identify and address how their products, marketing practices, online operations, supply chains, and investments may adversely affect children. So, we have a lot to celebrate, but we have more to do. Business action and business inaction still impacts children's health, nutrition, education, and protection from violence and exploitation, including child labor. We can't lose sight of what's at stake for children. We need more businesses to join us and to help translate the aspirations of the CRBPs into concrete action and policy change. We need to close gaps in law and in practice and scale up responsible business practices that promote the best interests of all children. And we need to listen to children and young people and let their experiences, their hopes, and their dreams guide our efforts.
Child rights and business principle is a very important topic for us, the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child. When we talk about the children's rights and business, people tend to think about child labor. Of course, child labor is one of the many important issues concerning children's rights and business sector, which is included in Global Compact. However, the impact of business sector's activities on children's rights is much broader. With that recognition, the committee adopted General Comment number 16 on states' obligations regarding the impact of business sector on children's rights in 2013. In this general comment, which is actually guidance to the state parties, the committee identified various important activities of business as the provider of services and products in such areas as education, health, food, drink, and even in conflict situations, business have responsibility to protect children's rights. Today, I'd like to highlight two areas which are increasingly important for the children's rights and business activities. One is the online. The children today are spending increasingly longer time online, and business as service providers and in various ways having the impact on the protection of children's rights on online, such as sexual exploitation and abuse online, or the protection of children's privacy. The other area is environment, including climate change. Again, in this area, business activities impact is much more broader, such as the health, life, the survival, education, and cultural rights, for example. Our general comment, it is the recommendations guidance to the state parties, but I hope that our recommendations are more widely known to the business sector, so that business sector can learn and understand their responsibilities and the role they can play in promotion and protection of children's rights. Thank you very much. I hope you will enjoy the rest of the events. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine Russell and Mikiko Tani, for these important words to kick us off. The next item is an inspiring video montage on why business action is crucial for children, the SDGs, and a fair and sustainable world. This will be followed by a statement from Penelope Lair, a youth activist and UNICEF ambassador.
10 years ago, a landmark set of principles was developed.
I welcome the launch of the Children's Rights and Business Principles. Pre 2 godine UNICEF je pokrenuo akciju sa ciljem da definiše principe koje bi kompanije trebalo da poštuju kada su u pitanju deca i njihova prava.
And when I think about sustainability, it's really about ensuring that we leave this world a better place for the next generation.
Building on the UN guiding principles on business and human rights, the CRBP were the first comprehensive set of principles to guide companies on the range of actions they can take to respect children's rights in the workplace, marketplace, and community. The CRBP call on companies everywhere and of all sizes to integrate respect for children's rights into their core business activities, from decisions and strategies to business models and wider sustainability efforts. And they can be used by governments to ensure that business policy and regulation creates an environment that builds that respect. Over the past 10 years, the principles have served as an inspiration for many businesses, regardless of their size, sector, or location. Inspiring action in management suites, farms, and factories, and creating change in law, standards, and practice addressing business impact on children. There is much to celebrate, but much more that needs to be done.
And we are talking more and more about intergenerational justice. We are creating a very, very difficult world for our children and their children and grandchildren.
Achieving sustainable change means holistic action by businesses, investors, and policymakers, with children's rights and children's voices at the center. We need businesses and governments everywhere to play their part. Together, we can make the next 10 years a better decade for every child, everywhere.
Congratulations on 10 years of the children's rights and business principles. People, children, are fighting every day for a livable climate. We need businesses to step up their game climate-wise. We need structural changes, and we need changes in our values. We need businesses to transform their operations, to use and share their technology and expertise, to speed up the transition to a resilient, low-carbon economy, and to put environmental and social sustainability and justice at the core of their business models. And we need you to listen to children and young people and to scientists and act accordingly. The climate crisis is a child rights crisis. No business will be truly profitable at the expense of children's basic needs, basic rights. There is no such thing as good profit on a planet where livelihood has been destroyed.
Doesn't that leave you feeling extra invigorated and challenged? It truly captures the breadth of what's possible when businesses respect the rights of children and stand as champions. Next up, we have Inga Ashing, the CEO of Save the Children International. Save the Children International has been one of the 3 co-lead organizations of the CRBP and a champion over the past decade to promote awareness, uptake, and implementation of the principles. The stage is yours, Inga.
Thank you, Elizabeth. 10 years ago, I was fortunate to personally follow this collaboration, and I was present at the launch of the Child Rights and Business Principles. Today, it is a privilege to be part of this landmark anniversary. Over the last 10 years, Save the Children has developed programs and advocated on these principles. We are also providing direct service to businesses through the Center for Child Rights and Business. This work thrives across the world, notably thanks to our corporate, institutional, and civil society partners. This anniversary gives us an opportunity to take stock of business impact on children's rights. It also gives us an opportunity to reflect and propose clear expectations for all decision makers in society for what is needed moving forward. there has been growing recognition that addressing business impact on children is integral to global sustainability and building a fairer, more inclusive world. Progress has been made, and some have become pioneers, including the companies that you will hear from today. Strengthening child rights in the broader corporate sustainability agendas is crucial. Children are directly impacted by the climate crisis, their parents' working conditions, by the availability and quality of child protection, social protection, education, and healthcare systems. We have learned a lot over these past 10 years. One key learning is that decision makers and those who hold power, including business leaders themselves, must be bold and work with civil society so that all children can engage in finding sustainable solutions to our common global challenges. Children are the real experts in their own lives and experiences. Their right to participate must be at the center of our work. Another learning is that addressing business impact on children's rights needs to become business as usual. It also needs to be integrated into other important corporate sustainability agendas, such as climate change or environmental, social, and governance initiatives. Corporate sustainability due diligence and regulatory developments have only recently started. Moving forward, these developments should have a much stronger focus on children. The challenges that we face today, conflict, climate change, inequality, and injustice, affects all parts of the society, but children are hit the hardest, particularly those experiencing discrimination and inequality. Businesses have an important role and responsibility to play in finding sustainable solutions that reflect children's rights and contribute to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As Save the Children, we look forward to further strengthening our collaboration with all partners, including UNICEF, UN Global Compact, businesses, and governments, to realize our hopes for where the child rights and business agenda will go in the coming decade.
Thanks, Inga, for reminding us about how far we've come, the lessons learned, and the importance of meaningfully engaging and acting upon the voices and interests of children, particularly those who continue to face the additional barriers of discrimination and inequality. Let's now hear from business themselves about what the CRBPs represent for them and the actions they've taken.
There has never been a more important time to look at children's rights and children's interests as right now. The world is changing rapidly. There is climate change, there is pandemics, there is war, and inequality is increasing. This impacts children more than anything. The Children's Rights and Business Principles has already fundamentally played a role to put the children's rights agenda for businesses in the forefront. We can now see that children's lives are impacted by businesses in so many ways. We have children in the communities where we operate. We have children that are in touch with our products. We have children, of course, in the families of co-workers, and also children that will be leader of society in the future. So when we are now looking at the impact, we realize, of course, as a business, and especially an international business, we have a huge responsibility. A huge responsibility to every decision that we make also look through a lens of what is the best interest of the child. When we are working to eliminate child labor, when we are hiring young workers for their first job, but also through marketing and communication and product development, understand both the intended and unintended impacts of children. Through this journey, we have learned so much. One of them is that we need to have a value chain perspective, understanding the totality of our impact. As well as when we're looking into that this is a journey, the new risks are coming. So many changes in the world is happening. So this is a continuous work that has to be intensified even more now in the time of change. Most companies are going through transformational changes right now. There's huge changes. There is changes to digitalization, to automation, but also to adapt to a net zero and a circular society. This will have impact on children as well. And there is not going to be a just transition if there has been an overlook of children's rights and children's interests. It has been said so many times before that tackling these challenges can only be done in collaboration. Collaborations between companies, with governments, with civil societies and NGOs. This could never be as important as now, And the children's right and business principles are these type of tools that makes us come together and be able to tackle these challenges much better. So I would like to say thank you, and we hope that we can work together to really put the children's interest first. Thank you.
Children and young people are active users of our digital services now and in the future. We are committed and responsible for making sure that the technology we provide and use promotes children's rights to participating, to protection, to well-being. Because being online should be fun, it should be creative, it should be safe, especially for the children. So what do we do in order to implement children's rights in our business practices? First of all, we do block the illegal websites that contain child sexual abuse material. We do the same internally. We also support local children's helplines. We have providing online safety trainings for parents and children. And we have also initiated Children's Advisory Panel in order to listen directly from the children how internet influences their lives.
At the Legal Group, we have a wholehearted commitment to children's rights. We believe that as a business, we need to ensure that whenever we engage with children, we always put their interest first and respect and support their rights and well-being. We were the first toy company to sign the 10 children's rights and business principles back in 2013. And since 2015, we've joined forces with UNICEF in implementing and advocating for the principles. Together we have worked creating tools and policies on digital child safety, child safeguarding, and children's well-being online. The principles are more important than ever, and our continued commitment to these remain a top priority for us. At the Legal Group, we're passionate about children, and they're the center of everything that we do. That's why it's so important for us to engage, understand, and consult with children when implementing children's rights. That includes in our design and development process of products, or giving children the voice to raise their concern across our channels and programs.
The best place to start is to ask why children's rights and business principles are so important for Novo Nordisk.
Thank you, Jean. Novo Nordisk is committed to both respecting and supporting children's rights. And the children's rights and business principles are an important framework for us to help guide our business actions. From the respect side, since 2006, due diligence on children's rights has been integrated into our enterprise risk management processes, and this across the entire Novo Nordisk value chain. On what can businesses do, companies must never forget that children require special attention. Children do have special vulnerabilities as well as capabilities and rights that we all have to understand, respect, and support.
Great to hear about these interesting business examples. Demonstrating impact shows not only the importance of these principles, but that following them can bring about concrete and sustainable results for children. We need more businesses that demonstrate how children's rights can and must be integrated into core business practices across the whole areas where businesses may adversely affect the rights of children. To hear about the important role of states in promoting the rights of children affected by business, we're pleased to have Surya Deva from the UN Working Group on Business and Human Rights. Many of you will know that the CRBP are based on the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, adding a specific lens to what business must do for children.
States have a key role to play in ensuring that businesses respect human rights. Now this includes, of course, the rights of the children, including girls. In this particular context, the children's rights and business principles have a key role in reminding states and businesses that rights of the children are vital and they should be mainstreamed rather than as an afterthought. Now, the first 10 years of the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights indicate that merely voluntary measures will not be sufficient. States have to introduce legally binding measures and also ensure that there is accountability for violations of human rights. Whatever legislation are in progress at the national level, at the regional level, or at the international level, whether these are modern slavery statutes or these are legislations in certain European countries wider in terms of human rights due diligence, or more recently we have European Commission's Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. All these initiatives must mainstream the rights of the children. So I will strongly encourage states to take seriously the rights of the children and also provide for accountability for the business actors if they abuse those particular rights.
Moving on swiftly, we're now turning to a very interesting fireside chat we had with two businesses and a civil society organization to reflect on the past 10 years of the CRBP, progresses, challenges, and ways forward. In the interest of time, we had to cut the session to feature key snapshots. Here are some of the highlights from the discussion.
What has been really important for us in incorporating the CRBPs is and was, first of all, to integrate the CRBPs into the sustainability strategy of the company. The sustainability strategy of Lavazza is rooted on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda. In 2017, we decided to prioritize 4 main goals for our sustainability strategy. And these 4 goals are Goal 5 on gender equality, Goal 8 on decent jobs and economic growth, Goal 12 on responsible production and consumption, and Goal 13 on climate action. If you look at these 4 priorities, all of them can have impacts on children, on the rights of the child along different supply chains, and of course on our supply chain. So the idea was to really interrelate the sustainability strategy of the company with the CRBPs. And thanks to these very long-lasting partnerships we had with Save the Children, we could really work very well in integrating the CRBPs into all the actions of our company. It's a long way. We still have a lot of work to do, but it's really important. It has been really important for us to embark on a journey that's really has all the company's departments involved. As we all know, the CRBPs focus on the rights of the children on the workplace, in the marketplace, and in the community. So for us, the goal was to really work on these different areas involving different departments of the company on these issues. And thanks to the different partnerships we have all around the world with the civil society and also the public sector, it has been really not easy but effective to engage in multi-stakeholder projects focusing on these different areas. And so, for example, we have been working with our suppliers, with local communities, together with NGOs within our company, involving our colleagues, employees, and shareholders too. Because I think what we really need to do in order to integrate the CRBPs into a company strategy is to work on all levels of the company, not just, focusing on the sustainability department work, which is very exciting, but really try to integrate these principles into the daily life of the company.
If I share with you a little bit about Safaricom's journey, this is a journey we started in the year 2012 when we started looking at children's issues within the business, looking at children's rights and business principles, reviewing our policies and just seeing what are the business practices in Safaricom and in the broader ecosystem. So in 2014, it's when we got much better traction because we did a collaboration with UNICEF and we developed our own children's rights and business policy. This policy builds upon existing children's rights that was developed by UNICEF and Save the Children and the United Nations Global Compact, who recognize the need for stronger visibility of children's rights. So in 2015, together with UNICEF, we sat down and did an analysis of our business actions. And between 2015 to 2018, we started implementing this analysis. Of course, as a business, there are things that were quick wins. So for instance, we revised the maternity policy and had flexi hours. In Kenya, the law says maternity policy is 3 months, but our business gives 4 months. Then 6 months after that, you can work half day or flexi working hours for mothers when they come in. Then we did a marketing and advertising policy in relation to children and included in adverts. So we said, if Safaricom, we will never do adverts for children because our products aren't for children, but where we need to do and have children in our advertisements, we will treat children as children. Then we worked on a child online protection policy. So we've embedded children's rights into the business. Across the business, we have 40 champions who talk about children's rights in each division and help us implement these policies. As I said, it's a journey. So in 2016, we realized that we've done what we can in Safaricom. So we went for private sector advocacy. So we convened a CEO roundtable to drum support for the children's rights and business principles. And we have been advocates for children's rights in the private sector in Kenya. So 2016, 2018, drumming support, meeting CEOs, reminding them children are the meek and the weak, and we have to be the voice of the children. 2018, we partnered again with UNICEF and started to promote respect and remedy of rights through deployment of an industry toolkit, which was specifically for telecommunications and technology companies. We were the second company globally to undertake the Mobile Operators Children's Rights Impact Assessment, the MOCRIA. In 2018, also, we partnered with SEFA Internet Day celebrations, where this is an annual event, and the purpose was creating awareness on the benefits of the internet, the risks, and provide insights on how children can stay safe online. Because online education is here, children have access to these things, and as a responsible business, we felt we needed to create awareness on child safety online.
In my opinion, there are 3 main points we need to focus as a business community. One is to focus on trust, meaning that if we want to build sustainable value chain, not just supply chain, but value chains, we need to trust the NGOs working on the field. NGOs need to trust us in the business world, that we need to work in partnership also with the public sector. And so it's really important to overcome that probable or possible bottlenecks, which is the lack of trust between the different stakeholders, because only if we work together we can reach results in this environment. The second point I would point out is that is a point focusing on us as a business community. We do not have to be afraid of being challenged by civil society organizations. In order to build that trust I was mentioning at the beginning, we need to accept as a business community that we have limits, that civil society organizations have access to local communities and know what are the needs of those communities. And we can have a better business if we are open to civil society organizations to come and look into our supply chain and tell us what are the issues that we need to tackle. And the third point also is to internalize a so-called family approach, especially when you have a supply chain like ours in the coffee sector, in which families are the protagonists. So if you look at the children's rights as the family rights, and you internalize this family approach into your business practice, probably you have a more wide view on all the supply chain sustainability issues, and you can have better solutions to be applied. So I think in order to, let's say, try to advance in this world, especially after COVID, where we see a lot of bottlenecks in the advancement of the Agenda 2030, I think that trust, not being afraid of being challenged, and internalizing a family approach could be some good elements to advance the agenda.
So Among many, I would like to highlight three. First, being different from many in the private sector, maybe like Lavazza and Safaricom, corporates may have not understand well the CRBP and have a tendency of thinking about doing charity works, such as giving scholarship on tuition fee, nutrition, learning equipment for children, or doing charity for emergency purpose, rather than developing a real, effective, and long-term strategy and commitment of promoting child rights. And maybe only one person or one department will be responsible for promoting child rights, and they think that they are doing well already. Especially with corporates that not work directly with children. Their customer are not children or the family or the parents. So they may not see that they have a many connection with children and not think about the children of their staff, children affected by their operation. During COVID-19, as my observation, more and more business in Vietnam engage in charity work of supporting children in emergency case, implementing CRBP number 9, right? But they may not aware or not take any action to promote other principles. In addition, many corporates believe that they will engage in promote child rights when they are big. So when they are big, they will do corporate sustainability, will do the CSR, and maybe investing in child rights. And do not think that investing in children is a solution to growth. Second, when talking about CRBP, even with corporates with good practice, it seems that they also focus much more on promoting good practice in workplace and sometimes community sphere. But child rights in marketplace have not been considered effectively. In Vietnam and many countries, it is very important. Not talking about unhealthy or unsafe product and production process may affect children. I would like to focus more on the bad effect of inappropriate marketing and communication to the children that may transfer the not very good message to children and affect their development, especially relating to, for example, violence, gender inequality, discrimination, and etc. So the inappropriate and even harmful contents of marketing and communication of corporates may affect children a lot, especially now we know that we are in the digital world, so it's easy for children to access this kind of information and content. And thus, I concerned about the multi-stakeholder engagement. I know that promoting child rights needs a multi-stakeholder and right-based approach, and government, CSO, business, a golden triangle. So like our meeting, our workshop today, we have all of the representative of different stakeholders. And of the three, CSO know how to engage children themselves at very local level. However, it seems that there has still gap to bring corporates and CSO together and promote child rights. CSO may have not seen enough efforts from corporates to promote child rights. In addition, such as business can be a force of advancing children's rights. However, they may also cause or contribute to violation of their rights, unhealthy and unsafe products and services, environmental pollution, and degradation, and this kind of serious threats to children's development. With corporate, they may also see CSO as criticizer rather than a strategic partner or trust partner like Veronica says already, right? To support them to grow as a child-friendly business. So I think like there's still many trends and gaps, so that we still have many things to do.
Well, I think that to scale up and to advance the CRBPs, we first of all need more engagement by more companies. So I think it's really important, especially for the organization supporting the CRBPs, to make more advocacy for the CRBPs, make this very effective and practical principles much more known on the business world. And so it's because it's really important to know that every company can have an impact, also a good impact on the children's life. And it's important for companies to know that. So I think that first of all, to advance the CRBPs, everybody should know about the CRBPs. Secondly, I also think that it's really important for us in the business world to make those principles part of our business practices. It's not just about supporting projects. It's not just about charity. We need to go beyond the classical and maybe a bit old CSR approach. We need to do sustainability in our work, and we need to make our business sustainable. And to do this, we need to work together with those giving the voice to the children. It's really important for us to hear the voice of children through those who can make us hear these voices. So it's really important to work together with those on the field, like MSD, like Save the Children, like UNICEF. It's really important to partner with those who can make us understand how we can impact on children, how children can impact on us, and how we can work together to advance at scale, because it's so urgent now, this very important topic.
Wow. Corporate sector should look CRBP is not only a kind of responsibility, but also the solutions, the opportunity to grow. This is not only about compliance, but beyond compliance. It's also the strategic solution for business to grow in a sustainable way, and also like expand their brands and influence. I would like to talk more about the message relating to child participation, because I'm from CSO. So I think that nothing about children or affected children without children. It's important to engage children in the whole process. And you will know that, you will see that the useful information and also initiatives created by the children. Children is not only the future, but also the current force that's been very innovative, that can benefit the corporate sector in many ways. And also they have the right to raise their voice in different processes. So I know that with many corporate sector, it's very difficult to collect and to also to access to the child participation and also collect the information from children, because it's not their expertise. So I would like to come back to the CSO roles, as I talked about already, about our role of guide, monitor, enforce, and advocate. Let us support business to engage children in the process in the most effective way, so that we together can ensure the child participation on the best interest of children and leave no children behind. Thank you. That's my message.
The first one is, I think we need to accelerate and scale progress on children's rights. Businesses must jointly advocate for the rights of children in collaboration with other stakeholders, be it from the public sector, be it ministries and governments, be it the non-governmental actors and non-state actors. We need a good partnerships that come together to address the issues of children that the children are facing at this time as responsible business, and to get it into mainstream business. I know many businesses would say maybe we don't work in children's rights, but there are businesses that are in touch with children and do things for children. So for such businesses, including us where we have touch points with children, we need to engage children and other stakeholders in design of products and services meant for their consumption, so that we don't sit in our ivory towers and think we are thinking on behalf of the children. The children have thoughts. We just need to bring them in and share these thoughts with us.
Really interesting points that were made. It's great to hear from individual businesses about their journey to implement the CRBP and some of the challenges they faced. But also importantly, the key gaps that still remain. We need to move beyond islands of good practice and see progress at scale. Let's get the message out and let's get more businesses on board. We simply cannot afford not to. Now, let's hear from more stakeholders who have their finger on the pulse and know what's happening on the ground. Next up, we have some inspiring statements from CRBP champions and youth advocates.
Global Child Forum, in collaboration with the Boston Consulting Group, has been benchmarking companies for more than 10 years on how well they report and integrate the CRBPs into their operations and communities. 10 years on, and we've scored over 3,000 companies. And our latest benchmark indicates that there has been progress, although it is modest. We see signs of improvement, particularly in that more companies have child labor policies in place and that companies are reporting on environmental impacts. So this is a positive signal that most leading companies seem to increasingly understand their important role in society.
CRBP is a very unifying concept and has given us a value proposition shared across regions, cultures, and really allowed business also to develop a range of win-win models, showing that what's good for children is also good for business. A recent CRBP program in Bangladesh, for example, has created a positive ROI for the participating company within just a few months of implementation. But obviously, the most important advancement is how it has actually benefited children. And just to make a couple of examples, the millions of children who benefited from a company's improved online protection, or the hundreds of thousands of migrant children in China who got to spend time with their parents due to the companies investing into child-friendly spaces, and thousands of children in Bangladesh who most recently during the COVID pandemic got access to healthcare because their parents' employers decided to open the factory clinics for all family members. Most businesses simply do not put enough consideration into how their products or services and the conditions under which these products are produced or delivered impact children. Short-lived products that we will throw away very quickly, products depending on finite resources, or stuff that is just too cheap to be true, in nearly all cases will have high environmental and societal costs with immense repercussions, in particular for the vulnerable children in this world. To advance CRBP, business really needs to understand their impact on children and consider the voices of children when doing a risk assessment or a due diligence assessment. It's also important they then follow up with some real action and are ready to make some tough decisions. Tightened legislation around business responsibility will certainly help to achieve this, and if implemented globally, would create a level playing field. At the same time, it's fundamental for children's rights organizations, whether that's government or civil society, to be that voice for children and then to consider the children's needs when developing practical solutions with companies, and practical solutions companies can buy into. And hopefully that will help us to really amplify and strengthen the voice of children.
Thank you so much. The impact of businesses on the rights of women and girls is an issue that's very close to me, as we see the critical need for businesses to consider the rights of girls and women, and the Child Rights and Businesses principles provide a very good framework or entry point for how to do this. From a child rights and gender perspective, it's critical that all businesses understand and address their different impact on children, both boys and girls, through their products, their marketing practices, and working conditions, etc. For example, businesses impact gender issues internally through the way that they treat their female employees and parents more broadly, such as in relation to their maternity protection and parental leave, which also has a wider impact on families and communities. Importantly, businesses can impact gender equality externally through their marketing practices and product design. For example, when they reinforce harmful stereotypes in their advertisements, that is one channel through which businesses have an impact on women and girls and in creating gender stereotypes. We recently conducted a research in India that showed, with Gina Davis Institute, and that research showed the prevalence of widespread gender stereotypes across all advertisements, and they actually reviewed the the top 1,000 advertisements that were viewed online in India in 2021, and they found that that these ads are really reinforcing all kinds of gender stereotypes, whether it is around body positivity or skin tone, about age. So this is an important channel through which businesses could actually reinforce stereotypes. We also know that girls and women face particular risks online, say in relation to online harassment or discriminatory treatment in accessing the internet. So there are many channels through which businesses directly impact gender issues and women and girls. One example of the impact of gender diversity is the work that's being done by leading companies in terms of how they're marketing the product to children, with greater awareness of the impact that they have not only on gender stereotypes but also on creating positive messages about girls. Many businesses have done some really excellent work in this area, and we've seen increasing examples of companies that are addressing, say, issues of mental health and linking it to the exposure to social media and body positivity and the impact that it has on teenagers and especially on young girls. We have some excellent examples of companies in, say, Kenya that have implemented family-friendly policies internally for the staff in the banking sector as well as in the tea plantation industry to support breastfeeding and access to childcare in the workplace. But these examples are still very limited, and very few companies are doing this, or very few sectors are doing this. So it's really not an industry-wide or a sector-wide practice that we're seeing. To truly make a difference, we need a deeper and wider embracing of gender transformative approaches by all companies and appropriate legal frameworks that require companies to do so in every part of the world.
Businesses can contribute to a better world for children and young people by supporting quality education for all. This can be done in many ways. It ranges from participating in focus groups on what skills are important for the future, to actually financially and logistically supporting the implementation of youth upskilling programs. Businesses tend to forget that their future customers and their future workforce is today's youth. This is why it is crucial for businesses to listen to the youth and act on it. Their sustainability is directly dependent on the youth. Business leaders need to reinvent the private sector into a space where the youth have a voice and their opinion is taken into consideration.
Hello, my name is Victoria Queno, a child rights and youth advocate from Ghana. Businesses can protect the rights of children and young people by developing and ensuring strict adherence to policies and laws on the prevention of child labor and child exploitation in any form. This will prevent a lot of children from missing out on school and also prevent children from being exploited in the work setting. Again, businesses have the role to create a safe environment that is free from pollution so that children can live and grow. Instead of employing them, how about investing in them? Because aside from they being good customers to your business, they can also be good business leaders in the future. They can bring to the table quality ideas and innovation to help advance the business and make it great. Protecting the child is not an individual responsibility. It's a collective one, and it depends on us all to ensure that children are protected. Businesses, we have a role to play and ensure that these children are protected.
We're coming close to the end of the session. I'm sure we've all picked one or two things to take with us. For me, 4 things really stand out. 1, the proof of concept is well established. The case for business as a principal stakeholder in the advancement of children's rights needs no further introduction. Not only is it possible for businesses to respect children's rights as their responsibility, they can also champion and advance the full enjoyment of every child's rights at home, at work, and beyond. It's exciting to see and hear about all these achievements which can be replicated, adapted, and improved at scale by others. Secondly, while we celebrate, we cannot afford to rest on our laurels. We face new challenges today. The multidimensional crises the world is facing have particular resonance for the rights of children and our collective futures. the best time for concrete business action is now. So, as we call on business to be at the forefront of advancing children's rights, we must also call on all stakeholders to ramp up efforts. For change to be sustainable and at scale, all hands must be on deck. Governments, communities, families, as well as children and young people. We have so much to learn from each other and synergies to create. And lastly, we need to meaningfully engage children and young people in this process. Their voices are vital, and their demands are clear. Let these bold visions for a world that is fit for every child be our North Star. To conclude this session, it is my pleasure to welcome the Assistant Secretary General and CEO of the United Nations Global Compact, Sando Jambo, for the closing remarks. Let me thank you here for joining us today. It has been a real pleasure to be your host. And let's make the next decade count for children.
Greetings. I'm Sando Jambo, the Assistant Secretary General and CEO of the United Nations Global Compact. Reflecting on the experiences shared today, one key takeaway rings true. Children need champions for their rights to be protected and for their voices to be heard. And they need to be actively involved in decisions that affect them. This is an important message for business leaders and executives everywhere, from large multinational companies to small and medium-sized enterprises. Across the spectrum of children's rights, there's so much more to do. And as long as there's unfinished business implementing the children's rights and business principles for all children, especially the most vulnerable, we cannot afford to hit the pause button. The human rights principles championed by the UN Global Compact state that businesses must respect human rights and ensure that they are not complicit in human rights abuses. This respect for human rights can only be achieved by putting people, especially children, at the center of a risk-based approach. And unless children's rights and children's voices are incorporated into global sustainability efforts, they will fall flat. The next 8 years will be critical in terms of ensuring that children's rights are routinely integrated within responsible business conduct and the private sector's response to global sustainability challenges. From climate change to gender inequality, decent work deficits, poverty and inequality, businesses, governments, and investors must take comprehensive action. Now more than ever, the children's rights and business principles can guide companies to make ambitious commitments and to accelerate action on children's rights within global supply chains as well as their own operations. The level of leadership and commitment displayed here today is a strong indication that we can confront our toughest challenges together, guided by the children's rights and business principles and the promise that they hold. A world that is fit for children is a world that is fit for all of us. Thank you.